The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. New York City baseball, past, present, future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and the co-hosts, two of them are here, Gene Hutmaker and Marty Rose. Hey, guys.
Hi, Ralph.
Everything well with you both?
Yep, doing fine, thank you.
Everything's great.
Good, Gene. Got my main question to answer on this is, what do you guys think about the next Yankee manager? Who is he? Why is it taking so long? Who is he going to be? And why is it taking so long for them to hire someone? Any rumors out there? Anybody?
It's been so quiet. It's been very quiet. I mean, you know, in the last week, I don't even think the topics come up. It just, you know, all the guys that were interviewed, you know, were spoken about already. And there's been no more interviews, I guess, around the Thanksgiving holiday. I don't really know if there's going to be any more. But it's been really, really quiet. So.
Okay. How about in Metsville?
In Metsville, wow. I mean, absolutely quiet. I mean.
Well, I heard something today that Alderson really doesn't have much faith in Dominic Smith, and he's seriously looking for a first baseman.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. Yeah, true.
So that's one thing. Another thing that came over this week was that Neil Walker they're looking at him as a possibility to come back to play second base.
That, to me, that makes no sense. It's going backwards. You know, the guy was okay. He was a decent player. I give you that. They way overpaid him because of that deal, that 1-year deal that he took, and then you know he has back problems. He's getting older. I would definitely not do that. You know, there's been some trade rumors since the Marlins seem to be into trading, you know, as many guys as they can. You know, D. Gordon is a possibility.
I'd like to see him. He's a leadoff guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little speeds at the top of the order.
Right. His name's come up, but you know, it's all speculation. I don't think we're going to see anything happen until the GM meetings. I mean the winter meetings. The winter meetings are coming up, about 2 weeks in mid-December?
Right.
Also, I think in Orlando as well. But, you know, there's been, like, no signings, hardly any trades. The whole thing's been very, very quiet. I mean, both leagues, it seems like, you know, even the rumors are drying up because there's nothing going on. I don't know what it's all about. Maybe everybody's, you know, busy with football and they're just not even thinking about baseball. Even the guys that write baseball all the time, like Heyman. I mean, what could he say? There's like nothing new. They put rumors out there, possibilities of things, but nothing's happening. Zero.
Well, the big rumor or my big question is Reyes going to come back? He wants to. I think he can help them.
It depends. I think he can too, but not as a starter, you know. And they got Flores, and they got Cabrera, and they got a shortstop, the kid, you know, Rosario.
Right.
guys that they really need. Especially, I like Reyes, but I mean, at what? What would he do? Pinch hit, utility infielder. That's about it. But then that's also Flores. So, I don't know if
but he's got a lot more defense going for him than Flores does.
That's true.
And
that's true.
In terms of late inning replacement, certainly rather see him in there defensively.
Also, if they make no moves at first, then, Flores could platoon at first. He's played first before.
Right. I have a real strength. If Alderson comes out and says that about Dominic Smith, that he doesn't really have faith in him, if he says it out loud, I think he's got a trade going in his head. Or I heard he was looking at Lind, a power-hitting, left-handed hitting guy.
Yeah.
And then there's the possibility of Stanton. Do you think that they could get it together to sign him? Or, better still, perhaps, J.T. Martinez is out there. And as a free agent, you wouldn't have to give up any draft picks to get him. Where Stanton, you'd have to put together a package, and they really don't have much to offer.
This guy Adam Lind is 34 already.
Yeah.
So, you got to keep away from those guys.
I'd like to see him sign Bruce. I have to say, I think Bruce.
I agree.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, Stanton seems to be headed for L.A.
Oh, really?
That's supposed to be the news for the Dodgers.
Somewhere in California, yeah.
I heard for a while it might be the Giants too. That was looking at him, but I don't know. We'll see. Want to play a little World Series All-Star game talk? I'd like a little of that. Not All-Star game. Hall of Fame Ballot talk. I'm doing this on a bunch of shows this week, and I would like to do it in reverse. A lot of guys eligible, a lot of guys deserving, a lot of guys not deserving. I want you guys to tell me who stands out in your minds as guys who are in there and shouldn't be, if you would. Let's start with you, Marty.
On the ballot?
No, guys who are already in the Hall of Fame who you think is really not righteous, just off the top of your head.
Well, interesting. Well, I mean, the guy that comes to my mind immediately is Bill Mazeroski.
You know, Mert, you're an AT guy, as is Hal Bach, and that was his answer last week when we talked about this very subject. He was the first player mentioned.
Yeah. Well,
and
look, you take away the big home run, and what do you got?
You got a really outstanding defensive second baseman, probably the best second baseman of our being kids, our time, at least 7, 8 years of being the best second baseman in the national.
I know a lot of people say that it's not the Hall of the very good. It's not. There's a lot of guys that are very good.
Yeah.
But, you got to be special. You really should be special to get into the Hall. I mean, I'd have to really take a look at some of the names that are in there or maybe have gotten in recently, but he's the first guy that just came to
guy to come to your mind. Gene Hutmaker, who comes to your mind?
Well, regarding Mazeroski, of course, I love him being in there. Not that I would say he belongs because of that home run, which was the probably second best moment in my baseball life, being a Yankee hater. But he was the top second baseman. In fact, and they vote for Major League Player of the Year, and he was also the Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year, and all because of that one home run, which obviously was one of the main reasons he got into the Hall of Fame. And in fact, the Veterans Committee had a Pittsburgh Pirate flavor when he got elected, and that's why the Veterans Committee is no longer the good old boys club, because that's when they revamped it after Mazeroski got in. And that's why it's really tough for the veterans now. And you could probably take most of the people that Frankie Frisch put in when he was kind of running the show at the Veterans Committee, and he was a great teammate because he got about 10 of his guys in. And all of them, and they were all very good players, maybe like Jim Bottomley, and was one of the few that would belong. He got Ross Young's in, he got Bancroft and Travis Jackson and Marcus Kelly.
Pretty good shortstop for the Giants.
He was very good, but like
one of those guys right on the bubble where you think you could argue all day. It's like Gil or Vada Pinson or Dick Allen.
Well, the problem with Dick Allen is, and personally I would have him in. I know he was basically he was probably one of the most dominant hitters of his time, but generally speaking, there has not been one player elected by the baseball writers that has less than 2,000 hits since Ralph Kiner in 1975. And that's one of the bad things about Oliva and Allen, who are probably Hall of Fame type stuff, but it's not it's an unwritten requisite that you have to have, say, 2,000 hits and for starting pitchers, 200 wins, because since Koufax in 76, not one pitcher got in that was a starter that by the baseball writers. And the baseball writers have been pretty good. If you look back, they really have very few clunkers in there.
Yeah, that's true. It's the Veterans Committee that has skewed it. But it's also the Veterans Committee that has kept out Gil Hodges. And that's something that comes up all the time on this network. Guys with the Dodgers show, guys with New York Allegiance, this, that, and the other thing. Marty, do you think Gil belongs?
I do. I think he belongs, both for his playing career and his managing career. But I think what's keeping him out is that so many of his teammates from, those glory years in Brooklyn are in already. And they're hesitant to add another one. That's what I think.
Yeah, well, Gil Hodges is the only player not in the Hall of Fame from 1900 to 1998. He's the only player not in the Hall of Fame that has accumulated 6 30 home run seasons and 7 100 RBI seasons. And that's more than a lot of sluggers like Cepeda and Tony Perez. And so he does have that going for him, and he just don't get in. He was a good guy, and they're a fantastic fielder. Not that first basemen are in there for their fielding, but, number one right-handed hitter in home runs in the National League, and only behind Jimmy Fox when he retired, and leading the runner-up in 1950s for home runs and RBIs behind Snyder. What I think hurted him the most was back when he got out, that the batting average was really a big thing, and that 272 batting average doesn't help him.
Gene, you're a Cardinal fan. Can you make a case for Roger Maris?
No, he only had 2. If you want to put him in for his record, fine. That would be the only reason he would be getting in there, because he really only had 2 Hall of Fame type seasons, which were his MVP years. And then he had the other one. We had 33 homers and 100 RBIs, if you want to say that was borderline. But other than that was, and then don't forget, when he came to my Cardinals, he became a Jolly Roger.
Yeah.
Right.
I got a thing with some of these guys that when you think of them or you hear their name, you don't think greatness, but these the guys that have, compiled massive statistics over like a 20-year career or something like that. Some of those guys. Trying to think of somebody like that. But there are, like, how about Gaylord Perry? You should know a lot about him, Ralph.
Right.
From being out there. How do you feel about him? I think he's one of these compiler guys.
Well, you throw longevity into it, and that has to be a positive factor, though. Mm-hmm. That a guy...
That he lasted that long?
That he lasted that long, exactly.
Well, he had 20 wins like 6 times, I think. That's 6 or 7 times, I think. So he was a constant 20-game winner, and he won a Cy Young twice. And he was great with the Vaseline.
Yeah. Sometimes that's an art. And it's great for baseball, to be honest with you. You got to give him some credit for that. And he was reputedly a good teammate. And that has to go into it. And that's one thing Roger Maris, when he went to the Cardinals, I thought you were going to talk bigger about his accomplishments with the Cardinals. He was there in 64 and in 68, am I correct?
Yes, 67, 68 when they won the pennant and won World Series. And not that he was great, he was like a 260, 270 hitter, but he did have a great World Series against the Red Sox.
Yeah, true. And solid ball player, too. You have to remember that he came as damaged goods. His hand was never the same after it was broken, and the Yankees said, keep playing, it's fine, don't have to worry about it. And that screwed him up. But I'll ask you this then. Cardinal, controversial guy, and I know he was a favorite of yours, so I'm going to ask you to be as objective about him as you can. Enos Slaughter.
Well, growing up, he was the Charlie Hustle of his era, and being a Cardinal fan, I understand the thing with Jackie Robinson, which I heard him before he passed away, actually, on being interviewed, and he was explaining what happened, that Robinson was not that great a first baseman, and his foot was at the baseline, and when he spiked him. But great ball player. I mean, he has a 300 lifetime batting average. He possibly could have had 3,000 hits, but he had 2,300 something, and he lost 3 years to World War II at the height of his career. And he was a great
another
player.
veterans committee guy. Also.
Yeah, but he was like, one of their better choices. It was a 300 batting average, 2,300 hits. In the MVP racing a bunch of years. And but a lot of people from Dixie, which a lot of players were, probably the greater percentage were from Dixie rather than the North playing baseball then, and they were all basically racist.
Right.
Well, I mean, I don't really it's not a good thing to be, but like he wasn't alone. I mean, the whole the Cardinals wanted to not play the Dodgers. They wanted to, and then
13 of the Dodgers early on signed a petition that they tried to get through DeRocher that they wouldn't play with Jackie. His teammates, Dodgers, let alone opponents, and let alone opponents from St. Louis, Missouri, which was basically the South at that time.
You wouldn't think of that now, but
right.
They wouldn't let him stay in the hotel. The whole team, they told him to move on. Not just Jackie, but they didn't want anybody in the hotel. The whole team.
Philadelphia was that way too.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who was the manager, Gene, that was on Jackie so much in Philadelphia? Sawyer, was it?
No, the former Yankee star. But he has a 300 lifetime average. He was on the 32 Yankees. I forgot.
Anyway,
Ben
he
Chapman,
gave...
Ben Chapman.
Chapman, right. And he gave Jackie such a hard time, and they almost forced Jackie to pose with him as kind of a peace offering. And Jackie had, if you ever see that picture, Jackie has this look on his face. It was the first couple of years when he made this deal with Branch Rickey to turn the other cheek.
Yeah. See the 42, the movie, the 42 that was out a few years ago?
Right.
Yeah, that was really good. Really was.
Yes, absolutely. Great portrayal of those times. And,
I like the original when he played himself.
Yeah, that was great too.
That's true. I've reminded Marty that time and time we were in a lot of the same classes. I did the Jackie Robinson story as a book report for 3 years in a row in school.
I think a lot of us did.
It was great. Now, maybe one year it was the Sal Magley story. I think I mixed that in one year to round out my education was rounded out a little bit.
That's when he ran over Davy Williams because Magley refused to cover first. He ruined Davy Williams'
Tell
career.
me that story. I don't remember that story. Tell that story, please.
The way Magley was, and Robinson bunted, and he wouldn't go nowhere near it. So Davy Williams had to go and cover first, and Jackie Robinson ran him over really bad, kind of ending his career, curtailing his career. Davy Williams.
Oh, I didn't know how that happened. I assumed it was at second base.
Magley didn't want no part of him.
Yeah, can imagine why, too. Jackie was big and rough, and his after the brakes were taken off, after the deal was consummated, turn your other cheek for 2 years, he became ferocious. Nobody messed with him after that. And
I wouldn't say he was like Ty Cobb running the bases, but he was tough. And like Ty Cobb wasn't a football player. This guy was a star running back. I mean, you didn't want him coming down at you.
No, not at all. And he was a lot like Jimmy Brown in the sense that he was multi-sports that he was great at. Jimmy Brown was tremendous lacrosse player, basketball player as well. And Jackie played football. He ran track, naturally baseball. I think there was one or two other things that he did.
Basketball.
And yes, and tennis. I think he played tennis fairly well too. So, I would say that Jackie Robinson and the combination of Robinson and Rickey were the most influential things to happen to baseball ever. That was just because it affected civil rights. It affected the world as we know it.
It did more for civil rights than the Congress ever did.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, Martin Luther King alluded to that when he was called the father of civil rights, or the grandfather. So he says, no, if it weren't for Jackie Robinson, this wouldn't be in place. It might have someday been in place, but it helped do it when nothing else could. The Depression, and after you come out of the World War, and these guys serve with you, it had to change. Yeah, I think that contributed to it. The war made it possible because blacks were serving next to whites. So that's our social studies lesson for today, ladies and gentlemen. Please make sure you do your homework. We'll come back next week.
Okay.
Bert, thank you for being here. It's a slow week. Yeah. We didn't have that much to talk about.
No, I'm a little surprised that there's been so little action. I mean, no signings, hardly Hardly anything.
They were talking how bad the Angels need a lefty power, so they were talking about Hosmer or Moustakas going to the Angels because they're such a right-handed, power-laden team.
I guess the winter meetings will tell.
I don't think those guys, based on an article I read a couple of weeks ago, I think Kansas City is going to do everything they can to keep both Hosmer and Moustakas. That's just...
well, if they want to keep contending, they do. Yeah, they should. Question of if they have the money or not.
Yeah, that... and who's coming up, too. Can they win right away?
Exactly.
Yeah. Do they have an envelope? Because why spend the money if you're almost sure not to win? But Kansas City's been a great organization over the years, as has St. Louis. I keep saying that two of the most solid organizations going since we're kids. Well, since we're young adults, let's put it that way.
Right.
All right.
True.
Hey, thanks, guys. It'll be more lively next week.
Hopefully so. All right.
I apologize for Larry Gowell. 1 for 1, 17 major league innings, 7 strikeouts, or 7 major league innings, 7 strikeouts. Got to give him that too.
0 for 1 on podcast. So.
Exactly. Well, he's 1 for 2, but
okay, 1 for 2.
So even that's a 500. Boy, we're doing great. Let's look at it positively. We're doing great. Thanks, guys.
Okay. You're welcome.
Catch you soon, and everybody out there, if you would do me a favor, if you like any of our offerings out there, would you accumulate some lightly used children's books, put them in a carton, and take them down to your Head Start program in your hometown? There is one, and the books can really be instrumental in getting kids to read and getting them prepared for school and having them do well in school right from the get-go so that there's no catching up. And with that in mind, we'll catch you next week. Adios, everybody.